Have you ever felt trapped by negative thoughts and emotions, like you're stuck in this cycle and you can't seem to escape? I know many of us have had that feeling of being overwhelmed and unsure of how to break free, and how to live from a positive point of view instead of a negative one. When I was 12 years old, my dad opened up a checking account for me. He was trying to teach me the value of money. He taught me how to deposit money, how to write checks, which I don't even know how long it's been since I've written a check. He taught me that I needed to have enough money in my account or it will become overdrawn. I quickly learned to always check my balance and make sure I wasn't spending more than I had in the account. And obviously at 12, I wasn't spending anything, but as I got older, I learned to keep tabs on the balance. I think one time and one time only when I was in college, my account went overdrawn. I was a little scared to check it. I don't know why. I had this gut feeling that it was getting low, but I didn't follow through. My dad quickly let me know I needed to be responsible with my money. I can hear him saying to this day from heaven, "April, it's not the amount of money, it's the management." And I tell you that story because just as we have a money bank account, we also have an emotional bank account. The place where all of our emotions are living or banking. All of them, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And just like our cash bank account, we need to stay on top of what emotions we're allowing to rule and consume our days. The question to maybe ask ourselves today is this: what are we depositing in our emotional bank account? See, what you deposit becomes a part of you. It becomes what you expend in the form of how you respond and how you react and how you conversate with others, and even the mood that you bring to each day. It affects and impacts how you deal with life. In other words, what you deposit will at some point come out. You might have some emotions in a long-term high-yield savings account right now, sitting there gaining some interest. You might have some emotions that you pull from often. Whatever's in there is going to form and shape your thought life. See, if you dwell on the pain, you're going to speak from a place of pain. If you dwell on the hurt or the offense or the rejection or the anger, you're going to speak and even live from those places. In the same regard, if you've stored up joy and peace, that's what your life is going to portray. Why? Because your emotional bank account becomes your thoughts. And those thoughts go down into your heart. And the scripture says, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. Your words become your environment, but it doesn't stop there. Your words become the environment of those around you. And one of the saddest and probably highly detrimental things that we can do is to pass our hurts and our offenses and our anger onto our loved ones. They start using the same words and the same tone concerning an event or a place and time, or even an individual. And oftentimes we do this without even being aware of it. What happens is we have essentially become the hurt. We've embraced the anger, and we live in this place of rejection. And instead of it being something that we're going through, it becomes who we are. It becomes our identity. And we walk around hurt and broken, and we pass it on to those that we love. Okay, having said all that, this is the amazing news and the hope that we can count on. Y'all know I'm a hope dealer. We have the power right now to change our story. Not just today, but right now. We can go from hurt and broken to happy and healed. Now, I know someone is thinking, "April, you just don't understand what I've been through. You don't understand what they did to me." And you're exactly right. I don't know. And technically, you're probably justified in how you feel. But I'm just letting you know that life is too short to continue to carry those feelings around that are weighing you down and not allowing you to live a life of joy and happiness and peace. And whether you realize it or not, it's affecting your relationships and your outlook in life in a negative way. So how do we get in there and check the balance on our emotional bank account? Well, here's some things you can ask yourself. Ask yourself, number one, do I approach the day with cynicism and dread? Do I live my life angry and bitter? Are my conversations generally negative and seldom uplifting? And then ask yourself this: do I want to become like those who've hurt me? Do I want to go through life speaking from my pain and spreading my pain? Do I want my kids to grow up with the broken, wounded version of me? Do I want the cycle of negative emotions to continue to run down the family line? When you think of it like this, it's a little bit more eye-opening. You realize that what you do by accident is just as important as what you do on purpose, because the way you live and act and speak and believe is impacting and affecting not only your environment, but the environment around you. I am the youngest of 5 kids, and in case you didn't know, I'm the favorite. I grew up with amazing parents that taught me about God and having a relationship with Him, and I'm so grateful for my upbringing. It's very imperfect. We're a very imperfect family, but one thing that I've discovered is this. Throughout my lifetime, I've had these deposits of love, deposits of happiness and laughter and hope through my whole life. And my default is happy. My default is hope. And I attribute that to my parents depositing these things in me since I was little. Y'all know I love to make daily declarations. It's just in me. In fact, for the next year, I'm going to have a 52-week declarational that I'm in the process of writing right now. You'll find more about that later on. Now, here's what's interesting. I found one of my dad's books. It's right here. It's called The Confessions of a Baptist Preacher. I started reading it. Now, you got to understand, when I was little, I didn't read his books. I didn't watch him on TV. But when I found it about a year ago, I started reading it. And do you know what this book is filled with? It's filled with declarations to speak over your day. They called it confessions back then. But I was reading it, and as I was reading it, I thought, oh, this is why I do what I do. This is why I love this. This has been deposited in me my whole entire life. I'm a generational hope dealer. And what's interesting is this. My dad didn't come from that same environment. He had good parents, but they really didn't understand how to deposit wholeness and hope into my dad. And I tell you that because Daddy decided to change his story. He went from negative emotional deposits to positive, hopeful, faith-filled deposits. He didn't camp out in the place where he said, you know what, that's not fair. I didn't come from that. I start from a disadvantage. Instead, he said, I'm changing it, and I'm changing the course of my legacy today. I love that, and I'm so grateful for it. See, it doesn't matter what you came from. You can change the course of your life today, starting with a decision today. So how do you do that? Let's make it practical. Take time often to check the balance on your emotional bank account and understand that every negative emotional deposit takes away from you living your best life. And on the flip side, every positive emotional deposit adds to your life. Remember, your life is a mirror of your constant thoughts, and what you think is what you will become. The key is to begin adding more positive emotional deposits. And here's how, on the flip side, to avoid negative deposits in your emotional bank account. The first thing, you've got to empty out the negative. In other words, you got to deal with the pain. You got to deal with the hurt. You got to deal with the offense and the anger. Stop replaying the pain. Deal with it so you can heal from it and move on. If you continue to hold yourself hostage to negative emotions, it's going to lead to a negative mindset and a negative life. Empty out the anger, empty out the bitterness, empty out the unforgiveness and the rejection. And don't let those past relationships control your future ones. Empty it out so you don't go back to what broke you. How do you do that? Well, maybe you need to talk to someone. Go to counseling, go to therapy. Allow someone to help you work through things that you can't seem to shake off by yourself. Address it, confront it, and then work until you can heal and stop the negative deposits that you're putting into your life. Secondly, it's very easy. Start making new deposits. Start making some happy deposits, some healthy, hopeful, faith-filled deposits. Start depositing life into your emotional bank account. And how do you do that? Well, let me tell you. In the morning, start telling yourself this: I'm happy, I'm blessed, I'm excited about today, I'm excited about my future, I'm filled with peace, I'm optimistic, I'm not going to fall back into past toxic negative patterns. I released past hurts and I embrace emotional freedom. I'm not going to let negative emotions win. I'm not going to be offended. I'm not going to be angry. I'm not going to walk in unforgiveness. Negative emotions will not dictate what kind of day I'm going to have. I'm going to keep it in the positive. I'm keeping my joy and I'm keeping my peace. I'm proud of where I am and I'm excited about where I'm going. See what you're doing? You are being intentional with your emotional bank account. You are in charge. You are no longer going to allow yourself to go into the negative. You're choosing to overflow with the positive. And then thirdly, check your account often. These days, everything is done for you. You pull up your app and you see how much money you have and you go from there. Seldom do you go line by line and look at everything because you just don't need to. Now, here's what I say. You gotta go old school when you're checking your emotional bank account. You gotta really look line by line and not the overall balance. You need to weigh the negatives against the positives and work toward keeping the negatives and the negative and allow the positives to dominate. And if you get out of balance, change it. Make the adjustments you need for you and for your loved ones to thrive in this life. And remember, you're not responsible for the family you came from, but you are responsible for the family that comes from you. And hey, we are all a work in progress. I don't know about you, but I'm going to do my part to make sure the rest of my life is the best. Hey, thanks for watching today, and I would love for you to subscribe and leave a comment if this has helped you. And until next time, I hope you have an amazing day.